Howdy folks, my name's Ronnie. Welcome to my channel. Friends and family call me the North Carolina Ridge Runner. I love to climb mountains, I love to knock around out in the woods, and doggone I run up a mountain any chance I get. We're gonna run up one today. I love history too, and this channel will be about hiking and a little bit of history. I heard a story on the Appalachian Storyteller that just inspired me. And it was about a man named Uncle Nick Grindstaff. Fascinating story. Today's the 100-year anniversary of his passing away. And I'm gonna be hiking up to the top of our mountain, about 4,180 foot. He lived up there. So y'all come on, let's go get on top of the mountain. It's about 3.5 miles up there, a little better, 3.6. I'm gonna get it on pretty good. I'm gonna cover a mile or two real quick. Y'all forgive the camera bouncing. I'm a toting this doggone thing, and I'm holding it as steady as I can. This forest is beautiful. I hadn't started climbing yet. I'm sort of still in the lowlands right in here. It's pretty, really beautiful in here. I've been noticing a lot of acorns on the trail too. A lot of early acorns dropping off. You know what that means? Sign of an early fall. I love it. Ready for some cool weather. Hey, I wanted to show y'all this ridge I'm up on. I done worked myself up on a ridge. I'm climbing in elevation. On one side of them is Big Laurel Wilderness area. On the other side, the Doe River Valley. It's gorgeous in here. It's classic Appalachian mountain ridge. Trees are thick right now, but that's looking down at the Doe River Valley. To me, this is the stuff I love. It's beautiful. Look at that acorn right there. Remember a while ago I was telling you, acorns is falling already? What that's a sign of? Fall's coming. This is better than any weatherman you'll ever see. If you'll pay attention to these mountains, you pay attention to these critters out here, you pay attention to what's on the ground. I'm gonna tell you right now, folks, these old mountains, they'll tell you what's gonna happen. They sure will. Fall's coming. I'm about a quarter of a mile out from Uncle Nick's place. I'm at an overlook right here off the trail. That's the Doe River Valley below me right there. You can't hardly see nothing. Boy, the trees, the foliage is thick on the trees right now. But boy, this fall, this winter, that'll be some more overlook right there. I thought I'd start the story of Uncle Nick for you, sort of kind of fill it in on my way. I just stopped off here just to get a little breather. Uncle Nick was born December 26, 1851. He was the youngest of 3 siblings. At 3 years old, his mom and his daddy, they caught a fever. And they died from that fever and orphaned them. Some relatives took them in, raised them, looked after them. His older sister, Marie, also helped. She bought him books, made sure he got to school, fixed meals for him. She helped mend his clothes. And he was pretty much like a child to her. Well, in 1872, all the family came back together, and they decided to sell their parents' land. It had no meaning to them, you know. They grew up without parents. They did sell it. They split the money. Nick took the money, bought him some land down in the valley below the Iron Mountains right there, and he farmed for a while. And it was just a meager living at best. That's hard life. Barely get by. And in the meantime, in his heart, he always wondered about the West and what was beyond Appalachia and the Mississippi River. Well, I'm gonna get on up the trail and I'll finish his story in his tune. I want to show you a big old poplar tree. I mean, a big one. I should be getting close. I'm in the area. I'm getting close to the top of our mountain. Should be right around here. It'd be a clear spot. He cleared off about 50 acres up here. Well, I'll be doggone. That is. I'll be a son of a gun. That is. I'll be doggone. There it is. Uncle Nick Grindstaff. That's where he's buried, folks. A couple of years later, they come up, took pieces from his chimney, and they built this memorial to Uncle Nick. It looks like a chimney. Said they buried him near his house. If you look, this was his land. He had about 50 acres up here. I read a newspaper article on him. Dug up some research. I enjoyed it. And he had about 50 acres up there. If you look, these trees are very, very young. You can tell one time this was some cleared out land. That's what he did. He farmed and hunted and enjoyed the animals in the woods. And heard there's traces of the foundation left or where it was. I'm not for sure, but just looking at this vegetation and the clear spots and all, I'd say his garden would have been right back in here. The sun would have been on it in the morning. Very good open place. It would have been on it in the morning, I'd say. I'm not for sure, but I would say, just guessing, his garden would have been right here. Said his cabin was backed up under some maple trees. That's a big old maple right there. Old maple. You see rock right there. He built an 8x8 cabin, and if you look, you can sort of see the outline right here of where something was for years. Just being a guessing man, folks, I'd say it was probably right here. I wouldn't be afraid to bet again. Boy, in the winter, just look at the view he would have had. That's Doe River Valley right there below us. Shady Valley, Tennessee. Be back over to our left. Wanted to come pay respects to this man and just honor him. This is July 22nd, 2023. He died July 22nd, 1923. 100-year anniversary of his passing away. In 1877, he sold his land, took the money, got him a horse, and he headed out west. He crossed the Mississippi River, went out through the Colorado Rockies, and what he did, he wound up in a valley in California. And he was going to try his hand at gold digging there, but by then, the 1851 gold rush, it was winding down, and people was going broke. Nick always had a way with animals. Back in Appalachia, it was said that he could walk up to a deer in the wild, and that deer was not afraid of Uncle Nick. And that deer would just let him pet him, and he just wasn't afraid. He just had a way with animals. Uncle Nick out there, somehow or another, he got hooked up with sheep and started herding sheep. And they trusted him like these deer and these wild animals in Appalachia did. And pretty soon, in corralling them, he made a name for himself. And he was making money, and he had his own sheep. And pretty soon, it was said at his peak, he had over 5,000 sheep. And for the first time in his life, he was making money and was making something of himself. Well, along about then, he met a beautiful lady named Doreen, and she too had been orphaned. And her and Nick, they struck it off, had a kindred spirit, and they fell in love. Short time later, they married. Now, I don't know how long they was married. It wasn't very long. But she too caught a fever, passed away. Well, of course, this devastated Nick, and he buried her. And pretty soon, he just found he didn't care about money, about sheep, about wealth, about California anymore. Made up his mind to sell his land, sell everything off, and he wanted to head back home to Appalachia, to East Tennessee. Well, he headed back across America, and he was 4 months into his trip. It wound up in Missouri. There was a saloon there. He went in one night to get him a drink, take it easy, and a beautiful woman tricked him into going into a back room where she had a partner in crime waiting. A man up there, they hit him over the head with a pistol after a struggle, robbed him blind, took everything he had, even took his horse. Well, the next morning, Uncle Nick woke up in the street. He walked on back to Tennessee. In the spring of 1883, he arrived back in Appalachia. He climbed to the top of the Iron Mountains, found this place where I'm at. Now, Nick didn't have no money. Somehow he acquired this. I'd say back then you could probably homestead some land. And he spent the next 40 years up here. He had him a dog named Panner. He had him a milk cow named Mary. He had an ox. He built him a 8x8 cabin right here. Just had a hauled out log for a bed. Small door, no windows. Just a 8x8 cabin. Just him. But anyway, found a rattlesnake curled up by his fireplace when he woke up one time. Well, he didn't bother that snake, and that snake made his home there. Never bothered him. The Appalachian Trail ain't too far from right here. Every once in a while, Nick would have a visitor, and one day a visitor saw that snake, shot it, killed it, made Nick mighty mad. Matter of fact, he made a statement one time, said he met a lot of people a whole lot meaner than that rattlesnake ever thought about being. He said that snake never bothered him, never done nothing to him. Twice a year, he would come down off the mountain in the spring and in the summer, and he would go down and He would do chores for people. He'd get his supplies, buy bacon, buy coffee. Come back up, then about the summer he'd come down again. In the winter they didn't see him a whole lot. I imagine he was holed up there during the winter time. Be pretty rough. People got to calling him Uncle Nick. Now I'm gonna tell you, people don't think a lot about you, they don't call you Uncle. Anyway, for 40 years he lived up here isolated. Well, in July of 1923, the storekeeper down there missed him. He didn't make his usual trip down. He came in spring, didn't come that summer. And so the storekeeper, he climbed up here, up on our mountain all the way from Shady Valley, Tennessee, to come see about Uncle Nick. Now, I'm going to tell you, you don't walk 8 or 9 miles to come up see about somebody you don't think a whole lot of. Well, he got to Nick's cabin, opened the door, and found that Uncle Nick had been dead about 4 days. And Painter was sitting on his chest, and when he tried to get Uncle Nick, get his body and retrieve it and get him ready for burial, Painter just absolutely went wild. He wound up having to go back to Shady Valley, Tennessee. The next day, come back with some help. They wound up roping Painter, got him taken care of. They got Uncle Nick out. They fixed him up for burial. They had his funeral. And 200 people climbed our mountain to attend his funeral. And the whole time, Painter laid on top of the coffin. But you know, folks, 200 people don't walk through the wilderness like that to come attend your funeral if them folks don't think a whole lot about you. You know, Uncle Nick, he moved up here to be isolated, to be by himself, but the fact of the matter is he had more friends, more people than he realized he did. I just wanted to come pay respects to Uncle Nick. I just found his story fascinating, and I feel like he's a friend that I never knew. In a way, we have a kindred spirit because I wandered these mountains too. But he represents a spirit in a way in these mountains that's dying. Not that much left up here, that kind of spirit anymore. Like I said earlier, 2 years later, they fashioned this out of a rock from his chimney. And they had a memorial service up here later. There was some judges and a lot of dignitaries up here from Johnson City and around Shady Valley and Lisbeth and around. Uncle Nick Grindstaff, born December 26, 1851, died July 22nd, 1923. And the storekeeper came up with his epitaph. He lived alone, he suffered alone, and he died alone. Think about that, folks. Lived alone, suffered alone, died alone. I reckon Uncle Nick knew a lot of heartbreak in life. Could trust people. You know, you gotta care about folks. You know, what might not be important to some folks might be big taters to other folks. He did matter. Folks, the fact of the matter is every life is precious to God. He knows about Uncle Nick, and Uncle Nick's life is precious to God. Well, I'm going to get on down from here. It's a good walk back. I really do hope you folks enjoyed this. Like I said, I just found this story fascinating, and we'll talk to you later.